Hi, I'm Tom Sinclair. It's time for that VidBlaster guy. On today's show, we've got Allan Bunt, who's talking church broadcasting and macros. Also, an update on my project in trying to get two Logitech C930E cams to play nice. Do they? Maybe. And also, want to tell you about our VidBlaster giveaway contest coming up in November. So sit tight. We'll be right there. Sounds loud. Hey, welcome to that VidBlaster guy. If you're watching us live, man, have we. Whoa, hold on. That is absolutely appropriate for what we've had going on today. Today has been just like a house of horrors in webcasting. Quick note to tell you about it. Fired up the stream at the normal time, and nothing worked. It didn't work, and I thought, oh golly, I've done something wrong tonight. So I start troubleshooting right and left because troubleshooting, that's one of my things. I can help other people troubleshoot, no problem. But troubleshooting myself, oh man, I am changing settings right and left. I mean, there is just this digital fur is flying. It's wonderful. And all of a sudden, I realize this is not my problem. This is a problem somewhere else. And so I used to cast, and I'm going to toss the cast under the bus right now because I'm kind of semi-ticked at them. And so I did the little chat thing with them. I said, are y'all having issues? Now, of course, they're in California. They don't always understand when you say y'all. So I didn't say y'all really. But I said, are you having issues today with your stream? And they said, yes, it's coming and going. And I said, aha, that was my problem. So I went back and changed everything that I'd spent the last hour changing to find out and figure out what the problem was. And I was about ready to bail out and go to my backup on Bamboozer. But the last time I used that wasn't working very well, and I haven't troubleshooted that problem since then. So I wasn't feeling very confident about going back to the backup. Anyway, to make a long, uncomfortable story short, we are back on the air today, not doing everything we wanted to do, frankly, but we're going to get it. Now, Allan Bunt is waiting in the green room. Allan's going to come talk about church broadcasting and macros and cool stuff like that. And if you recall, if you're one of the early adopters to that VidBlaster guy show, Allan was our very second guest in July of 2012. But before we get Al out, and you want to stick around and find out what he's got to say, I wanted to update you on the project that I was working on with the Logitech C930E cameras. Now, the C930E is an upgrade, supposedly, to the C920, which I love, in fact, which is what I'm using for this broadcast right now. Oh, you know what? I didn't have a chance to tweak it before I started the show. So the autofocus is on. So if I put my hand out, it may focus on that. I may go out of focus. So remember, if you're using a webcam, turn off the autofocus so that you can move around and not have it all of a sudden start zooming trying to find you. Boy, that's a newbie mistake on my part. Anyway, that's because I rebooted 4 times in my troubleshooting process. Anyway, a friend sent me 2 C930Es and said, Tom, see if you can get them to work together. So I plugged them in. This was probably 3 weeks ago, and it was not good. There was video delay. It was jagged frame rate, maybe 8 or 10 frames a second. And I could only control one of the cameras from the Logitech utility software. So I did some reading and found out that number one, Logitech doesn't supply drivers for the C930E camera. They rely on the drivers that are built into Windows. Okay. That was interesting to find out. So there was nothing that I could tweak or update from that standpoint. And this was a good experience I had. I went to the Logitech site and put in a support request and got an email back the next day from someone who I'll tell you about in just a second, who said, how can I help? And gave me his phone number. Wow, that's my kind of guy, giving out the phone number. So I called him. We talked. Turns out he's like a senior engineer, one of the guys that designed the C930E, and he said to me, he said, Tom, we never anticipated that people would be using more than one at a time. This whole internet broadcasting thing has suddenly hit us full in the face, and we're realizing that crazy people like you would want to use more than one, or two, or three, or, and he was getting it. And so he said, we didn't, in our design process, we didn't necessarily think about what happens when you get more than one of them plugged into the same PC at the same time. We're thinking, Skype use, the Microsoft links that I guess is part of Skype now. And so they were, kind of building those softwares on that end, on the Microsoft end, to work with the hardware on the other end and eliminating the whole driver package altogether. So here we are with trying to take a camera that was intended for a different purpose and use it for our purposes. How will it work? So bless his heart, he said, give me the list of the things that don't work for you, and I want to go back and work on them. Got an email, and we chatted for another 5 or 10 minutes. Of course, I invited him on the show. Excuse me. And so I got an email back from him, probably, I would say 24 to 36 hours later, saying that he was able to get two of them to work together. And one of the other problems is the maximum resolution I could get was 720. Well, they're rated for 1080. So I was a little disappointed in that. And he said that he was able to get two of them playing nicely at 1080p and made some suggestions. One of the suggestions was that I make sure that I didn't have those two cameras on the same USB bus. And I thought, I'm not going to make a mistake like that. Of course I didn't have those two cameras on the same USB controller. Did I? No, I didn't. But I had one of those on the same controller as the Logitech C920. So I was asking one controller to handle two cameras. A no-no in webcams. It did not, it doesn't work. So I got, and I said, okay, I got to go figure out where my controllers are, which ports they are, because, I've got two ports that are stacked one on top of each other and two ports next to it, and I can't just assume that this is controller 1 and this is controller 2. It didn't work like that. But after about 30 minutes of swapping cables back and forth, I was able to get the cams on their own controller, which was really pretty cool. And let's see, let me show you what they look like here. This is camera number 1. Actually, it's probably camera number 2, because this is camera number 1. And what he said he was not able to do was to get the cams to adjust independent of each other. He could get whatever the first cam was that the PC recognized. That's the camera that the Logitech utility software would control. And it would change everything. It would change, autofocus, it would change all the settings, it would change the resolutions. And it would not allow the second camera to be controlled. Even if you select camera number 2, Logitech C930E number 2, and that's the way it comes up in the driver list, or the device list, you still are controlling camera number 1, essentially. Even though you're specifying number 2, it still controls camera number 1. In VidBlaster, you can set the resolution, and I could not really tell if VidBlaster was changing the resolution on camera number 2, or whether it was just simply the same resolution as camera number 1. I wasn't able to get that far into it. But a side note, he did mention to me, he said, in the way the camera ended up when they finished the design and the prototype and went to production, The 1080 would do 30 frames a second, but the 720 would not do 30 frames a second. So they made the default for the 720 15 frames a second. Interesting. So if you've got a C930E and you're trying to do 720 video with it and you're frustrated because it looks like a jaggy frame rate, that may be why. Now there may be a fix in the works on that. So keep your ear to the ground with Logitech and see. But as of today, Logitech C930E, whether you're using one or more, it doesn't matter, but even one single one at 720p will only do 15 frames a second. Now, of course, I'm going to test that. So I tested it in VidBlaster, and I set camera 1 and 2 to 720, and it appeared as smooth a frame rate as the 920E, as the C920, doing 30 frames a second at 864 by 480. So we're going to conclude this experiment with the Logitech C930E to say, I probably wouldn't recommend two. I think one and then a different one like the C920 would give you two webcams that would be really good quality, I think, for webcams. And you would be able to control them separately of each other, tilt, pan, zoom, all the other functions and features in the camera. But two C930Es will not play nicely together if you're counting on making all the adjustments on their own. And so that's the update on that. Do want to update before, and remember we got Allan coming up here in just a second. But coming up in November, we're going to skip over October altogether because I want to get this word out soon. Coming up in November, we've got another video VidBlaster giveaway contest coming up. It's really going to be a lot of fun. Each week in November, every Wednesday in November, we are going to give away a home edition of VidBlaster or the full economic credit towards the purchase of any other higher version of VidBlaster. I'm not quite 100% set on the rules yet, but I think what I want to do is to have you, if you want to do this, submit a video using either the trial edition of VidBlaster, which you can get from the VidBlaster forum, that's forum.vidblaster.com in the download section, using the trial edition, or if you're a licensed user and you'd like to get the credit to upgrade to a higher edition, that's no problem. But I want you to make a video of, number one, a prototype of a show you'd like to do. Could be sports, could be a talk show, could be something that you're kind of doing already and you want to demonstrate what you're doing. But the limitation is that you have to do that as if you were using the home edition. Now remember, the home edition is kind of a scaled back version of VidBlaster. It only allows you to use 7, did I do that right? Yeah, there we go. 7 modules at a time. So that's, you figure a couple cameras, chroma key, streamer, program, recorder. You have to be very judicious, and you have to think through how you're going to do that. And it's okay with me if in the course of your demonstration show, if you add and remove modules in order to get different functions going at the different time. I think that can be a ton of fun. Now, Mike Versteeg, the VidBlaster developer, just recently when he what version? I guess it was version 3, and it's certainly the latest, greatest. 3.17 is the latest release version. Did all the home edition folks a favor because you don't need a recorder. You don't need an audio module anymore. So you used to have an audio module. So one of your 7 was the audio module. Now that's been dispensed with, and that function is built into the streamer and the recorder and the player and anything else that has anything to do with audio. So you've got an extra module to play with. That's cool. That's version 3. And again, you can get the trial version from the VidBlaster forum, forum.vidblaster.com. Go to the download section and get it there. And I'll have more details on the contest as the month of September winds out and we get into October. but it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Now, let me line up and introduce our guest here. Allan Bunt, who you've probably heard me talk about a lot because he's, number one, he's a great guy, and number two, he's a whiz kid. He really is. Don't tell him I said that, but I think he really is. He's just one of those guys that just, he gets it. He gets into it. He figures it out, and it's like snapping his fingers. It's magic. He's got it. Allan was the very second guest that I had on the show way back in the alpha shows. I mean, they were so bad. Don't go back and watch those on YouTube. They're still up there. And in fact, Allan's show, the time when he was the guest, was the most popular guest appearance of any show that we've ever done. It's like thousands and thousands of views. So it's really fun. So if you're interested in church broadcasting, he does a tour of what he does there at the church. And it was just a lot of fun to do, and he's a great guy. So with no further ado, let me bring Al in, and we're going to have to give him some audio here, and we'll have to get some video for him too. Al, welcome to the show. We got audio on you. That's good. That's good compared to considering all the problems that we started with before the show. And my apologies to folks at home. Generally, Al and I would be shaped about the same shape, and our heads would be at the same level and all that. But with all the problems we had getting on the air today, yeah, that's right. He's going to sit up straight and almost slouch down. Maybe I can sit the chair down a little bit. There we go. But Al, welcome. Thank you. You are so gracious. I'm so happy to have you on the show today. Glad to have you here. Al? Should be. Yep. Let's see. Try that. Maybe that's a little better. Okay. Whatever it is, it worked. Yes, you're doing great. Well, Al, since the last time you were on the show, you guys made some changes to the setup there at Good Shepherd Lutheran, and you've also kind of gotten into and you upgraded your VidBlaster from the Pro version to the Studio edition, which gave you access to the API. 3 years, boy, wow. Well, 1.36, that was a solid version. That was one of my favorites. You got it very nicely done. Yes. So, well, tell us what's the biggest change that's happened from the last time we had you on last July? What's the biggest change you've made in the setup? All right, good. Well, where would you like to start? Oh, that's right. We didn't do it live, did we? That's great. That's that's all you need. Yeah, Al, what Sony is that? Do you know off the top of your head? Oh, that's pretty cool. Is that pretty quiet? Nice. Very nice. No way. Oh, that's super. Ah, uh-huh. It really does look like you've got a ton of cameras in there. That's pretty amazing. Now that's amazing. Those are just what IP cams. Okay, okay, okay. I bet it does. That's great. That's great. Now, going back to your cams, excuse me, going back to the cams for just a second now. Um, I'm assuming that there's a controller for the cam that's got a joystick type device. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's a good size controller. Gotcha. Gotcha. So one controller, two cameras. Now, I thought I saw a mixer over there behind your controller. If we're going to take a tour, let's see it. Yeah. Gotcha. That's cool. I guess so. I, yeah, sorry about that. Gee whiz. Tertiary, right? Yeah. Really? Wow. Now, Al, are these folks that have had, the Good Shepherd Church as part of their past, and they're just trying to kind of keep up with you, or are they folks that have just discovered the services online and have discovered Good Shepherd as a result of the video? Right. Okay. So they've never been there. They don't know anybody there. They have they just stumble onto you guys. That is incredible. That is incredible. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. That is very cool. I think there's a message for all the churches out there about that. Is that your congregation isn't necessarily limited by geography anymore. I mean, uh, that's huge. That is huge. I mean, they're the obvious reasons to do this. I mean, for folks that are older and can't get to church, they can have somebody turn on a computer in their home and they can watch the service and be a part of things. For folks that are out of town and want to stay in touch, they can do that. For folks that have temporary conditions that mean they can't be to church because they're looking after, somebody else's children, or they're sick themselves for the time, or whatever the case is, and they can't get to church. I mean, there are all those kind of obvious ways. And then there are the kind of the next level of less obvious ways, which is people that are moving into your community and would like to see what your church looks like without really risking being there. And they can do that. But now you guys have taken it to a third level, tertiary, I like that word, and you've taken it to another level to say that you can be part of us without being physically present. And you can have the advantage of the message. You can feel like you're part of the community. I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming the church website has got the ability to take donations. I mean, certainly somebody could write out a check and send it in the mail, but they can also click and donate through PayPal or whatever else. From the worship page. So when the collection plate goes around the church, they can drop it in electronically right then and there. Right, right. Who doesn't have anything else to do anyway, right? Right. You mean you use more than one computer? Are we allowed to do that? Uh, I see that. So more than one computer, huh? I never thought about that. You're not multiple screens. Okay. Yeah, yeah. This is what I've been forced to go to in order to try to keep track of everything. You guys can see Al over here on Skype on the right, and then the chat room here, and then I've got VidBlaster taking up all of the left-hand monitor and 3/4 of the center monitor. I'm not using all the space, but oh, it's nice to have the extra real estate if you need it. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Oh, all right. Tell us about that, because that kind of folds into VidBlaster too, doesn't it? Really? Okay. So that'll be part of your next package is to upgrade that wiring system. Uh-huh. Right. Gotcha. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool. Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's most folks would love to see that. Let's see if this is any bigger. Yeah, there you go. It's hard to read the writing, but you can certainly see that you've got 24 lines filled up. Yeah, I think it's cropped out. Perfect. Now the first column, people can't see it because it's cropped out. The first column, all the way to the left, is numbered 1 through whatever. And then the second column is the heading there is called descriptions. And then the third column, the heading is called commands. Yeah, there's the descriptions. And that's something that you typed in. I mean, you decided what that description would be. Yeah. Folks, this is live and unscripted. Could you tell? Totally unscripted. Right. Which is purely scripted. Right. Right. Uh, wow. Awesome. Gotcha. And Al, that's pretty impressive. Sure. It did. And you haven't done any of this. All you've done is press one key on the keyboard. Infinity. Al, that's pretty darn amazing. Now, go back. Can you go back to the the macro list for a second? I wanted to ask a couple questions. The wide one. We'll start with the wide one. Okay, now in the first column we've got numbered down the left side, and those numbers are just arbitrary, just to tell you what macro you're working on, right? And then we okay, okay. And then the description is what you typed in, and then the third column, the actual commands are things that, again, you just typed in. And the very first word in all of those is API write. W-R-I-T-E, and that's a command in the VidBlaster API to say, hey, API, do this. And then the second word that appears is, how would you describe that? A location or function or? Okay, so it's a module that's basically this. Okay. Well, right. Oh, all right. So, okay, so if somebody wants to write a macro, they're going to have to know the, what would you call that? The style, the language, the protocol, the syntax, that's the word, yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. So essentially, the API allows the end user to now go in and customize VidBlaster even more than it already can be. I mean, it's a series of, depending on what edition you have, of 7, 15, 25, or 50 building blocks. And now not only do you have all of these building blocks you can do, but you can automate the building process of the building blocks themselves. That's pretty amazing. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now, Al was referring to the wiki, and that's wiki.vidblaster.com, where you can get all sorts of information, not just about the API, but about cameras and hardware and capture cards and audio and, just tons and tons of information. Our good friend Martin Kay has put most of that together and has done just an outstanding job on it. That's wiki.vidblaster.com. Um, all right. Al, I stand in awe of you, sir. Oh, we're just Mutual Appreciation Society here. That's right. Well, this is cool. Folks are going to get a lot of inspiration from this because I know a lot of our audience is folks that watch us later on YouTube. And my guess is, you may be getting some emails from phone calls of folks that just track you down somehow at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Wisconsin, Rapids, Wisconsin. How big is Wisconsin Rapids, Alan? That's a small town. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you don't have to be in New York or Los Angeles to do this fancy kind of stuff. You can be anywhere in the world. Very cool. Al, you're an inspiration. You really are. This is neat. I really thank you for coming on the show today. I'm sorry for the technical problems we had earlier on. But I think we did pretty good for just sort of throwing this thing together here. Let me put you on the main cam there. See if that we can There we go. It's www.1 and then goodshepherd.org. And Al helped me out on Good Shepherd last time we were on, because he said shepherd is spelled like there's a herd in it, you know, like a herd of sheep. Yep, like a sheep herder. So there's the herd. Good. Cool. Al, you do it all, man. When they start asking you to take out the trash, that's when you got to draw the line. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh. Ah, green thumb in addition. Green thumb in addition to the green screen. That's pretty cool. That's neat. Well, folks, this has been Allan Bunt from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, talking about church broadcasting and also talking about macros. And if you'd like more information about macros, you can go to wiki.vidblaster.com. If you'd like more information about Good Shepherd, you can go to onegoodshepherd.org and contact Al through that. Al, thank you. It was a treat. Great. And maybe come back again sometime. Okay. Ooh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Kid. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think we lost Al's audio. Oh well. We got the good stuff. We got the good stuff, Al. Oh my goodness. Well, hey, y'all, those of you that are watching live, stick around. We're going to go into the chat room and have a little chat. Al, don't go anywhere. We want to get you back on your audio. But we'll use this as a good opportunity to, oh, there he goes. Whatever it was. As a good opportunity to sort of close out the show here. Really a treat to have you in with us today. Sorry for the problems that we had earlier. Check out all our videos on YouTube, that VidBlaster guy. And we're live every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. And if you're down under, our good friends in Australia get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning to watch the show live. So that's always a treat. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget about our contest coming up in November. And we will see you. We'll see you next week. How about it? Bye now.